Good evening, everyone. Everyone to this session of guest lecture series, an initiative by Technovenza VJTI. I, Arsha Hemant Kalmek, am thrilled to be your host for today. An institute of rich and diverse legacy, VJTI today is among the premier institutes of the nation which has catered several successful personalities. Igniting young minds for the advancement of the nation at large, VJTI is a globally eminent institute of great educational prowess. Thus, progress coupled with innovation thrives as the basic foundation of this institute. Technovensa VJTI, with an aim of taking technology to the society, is a technical fest of great stature. Realizing that the budding engineers are the future, Technovensa aims to bring motivation by providing a platform to showcase skills and nurture the talents. Although the COVID pandemic hampered the functioning of several institutions, it hasn't been able to cast its impact on Technovenza as we continue to ensure that with all the resources available, we are still able to reach out and propagate innovation. GLS is an effort by Technovenza to bring eminent and successful people who have accomplished heights of success. Today, I would like to welcome our guest, Mrs. Anuradha T K. Well, it's precisely said that don't say the sky's the limit when there are footprints on the moon. Such are the magnificent accomplishments of Mrs. Anuradha, who is a distinguished scientist at ISRO. A master of a field, she has led as the director of the prestigious SATCOM program at the ISRO headquarters. Having graduated from UBC Bangalore, her proficiency and immense dedication towards shaping the space program has led to clinch her several renowned and eminent achievements like the Space Gold Medal Award by the Astronautical Society of India, the Suman Sharma Award by NDRF, and the ISRO Merit Award for the realization of indigenous communication spacecrafts. Apart from this, she has also led the satellite-based communication program for planning and policy implementations and the geo-satellite programs of ISRO as program director, putting forth a fierce example to the young women. Mrs. Anuradha holds the privilege to be the first women project director from ISRO Satellite Centre, thus a woman of dedication, devotion, and perseverance. Mrs. Anuradha is an iconic figure to look up to. This introduction just seems like a drop in the ocean of the immense achievements that Mrs. Anuradha has accomplished. With such an illustrious profile, we are truly honored to have Mrs. Anuradha with us today. Your selfless service towards the nation is praiseworthy, and we look forward to the session.
Thank you. Congratulations on your venture of Technovensa. It's a good initiative. And yes, under the pandemic situations, you have been doing well in this mode of operation. I hope many more students are going to join because it is something I would like to share with the community. So would you like to wait for some time?
No, ma'am. We are good to go.
Okay, because I didn't see the participants, only 7 were there. That is why I was just...
Ma'am, actually, we are live streaming on YouTube.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so could someone be helping me with the slides?
Yes, ma'am, I'll go.
Yeah. Can go to the presentation mode. So I make it my, I have made it my mandate that I must keep, giving this information to the student community and for the youngsters what ISRO has contributed to the nation. And it is a legacy which all of you should carry, just like many other great legacies in this country. Go to the next slide, please. So the space era began, after the World War II, when a lot of havoc was created by the V2 rocket. And of course, the designer of the V2 rocket, he moved to USA, and a lot of the facilities which were there, the German facilities at that time for rocket building, went to the then USSR. And there was a superpower fight between the two countries for getting the dominance in space, wherein a lot of centuries of astronomy information was also there, and a lot of new knowledge was there at that time. Along with that, an access to space with a rocket was also provided. And that is how the space era began. Next slide, please. And it was not too far from the World War that night, 1957, the first satellite Sputnik went up by Russia. Russia led in many ways, in fact. And no sooner the first satellite went, a lot of things happened. I just don't want to read out all the things which I've shown there, including, humans going into space, the first man from Russia, the first woman from Russia, in fact, the first life from Russia, the Laika, the dog, and then so many other ventures also went on, including, touching moon and touching other parts of the solar system. And there were also, along with that, a lot of space applications which came in, and we'll just look into those things. Next, please. So as I told, though it started as a scientific adventure and dominance in knowledge, it also moved on for various applications and revenue collection mode, and also as a matter of survival, getting to know and getting an access to space became a matter of survival too. So everything started building on the economy of the countries and the market value of the ventures. That way it started progressing. That is how, there was an impetus also for the space program. Next, please. So how was India at that time? As I told, 1957 was the first satellite which went into space. How we were, there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of, social disabilities, economic poverty. We were in doldrums, and our friendly neighbors were in war with us, and we still had the unhealed wounds of the partition, the way when it was going on. But at the same time, India emerged very soon as the G20, a strong economy, and it became a leader among the South Asia countries. Can you go to the presentation mode? And India emerged as a spacefaring nation amongst very few handful of them very quickly. 60s and 70s were difficult times, but India accepted the challenge. Next slide. You have a problem? Is someone attending?
Yes, ma'am. I think there is a network issue.
Okay. Good. So this was New India. So New India also trying to dare for a space program. Many question the relevance because of a lot of technical difficulties. We did not have a technical know-how other than the aspirations to do the things. And there was a high risk, lot of investment, and there was a small upstream value in the value chain, and gaps in a lot of regulatory regimes. How are we going to do that? Is it worth doing? Many had doubt. Next slide, please. But many can have doubt. Visionaries don't have. And there was this visionary, Vikram Sarabhai, who told that we are not in any space race. The purpose of us going into space is not to show our supremacy, no. But we have to bring those advanced technologies for the day-to-day life of the common man, for the real problems of the society. And that is how the vision started for the Indian space program, which was unique. No one else had thought of such a great vision. Next, please. And then with appropriate strategies by these veterans, Homi J. Baba and Vikram Sarabhai, and wonderful diplomacy and alliances, even with the then enemies or rivals in the world, we brought in innovations and started, as we envisioned that applications have to come, even with the foreign satellite. Very soon the applications started in India. We had already built by 1969 a ground station, and we had a rocket launching station in Turles. And it was a wonderful thing that even United Nations recognized the Turles rocket station and putting it for the sounding rockets, opening it for all the countries. That was how we learned a lot in those fields. Next, please. So then what happened? There was no looking back. So it was vision to reality, and ISRO programs were very well defined. The rocketry on one hand, and on the other hand, the satellites. Satellites also not just for any fancy, they were the application based. There was communication stream, remote sensing stream, navigation stream, and exploration streams. In each of them, ISRO went on from modest beginning and achieved a lot. Let us just have a quick look. Please go next. So what happened with all these programs? India became self-reliant in the space program. One should always understand the difference between self-sufficiency and self-reliant. Today in the world, we are at a platform where we can have a give and take talk with other spacefaring nations, other space giants too. As you see the numbers, we have already launched 342 satellites from other countries. So many countries have launched from us, and we had several launches, several satellites of our own, and there is an international cooperation because they understand that we are no less. So they understand that these people are there to give support to them too. So it is a give and take. We take our satellites for launch outside, big satellites, small satellites come to us, and a huge success thereon on the international level and self-reliance. Next, please. So we'll just touch upon each field. As I told, remote sensing was one of the major things. Remote sensing is basically for fostering the resources. So how do we look from above and have a better understanding of the resources and to maintain the resources and make sure that we don't lose the resources, avoid the degradation of the resources? For all these things, remote sensing satellites come into picture. Technologically, these are wonderful cameras. These are the eyes in the sky. So what do? So whether monitoring of the oceans, land, agriculture, in any way, they are able to see and get the data back onto the earth. So it happens in, technically because of the radiations which get emitted from the objects, or from we ourselves sending an active signal to the earth and getting it back, see a reflection back, and then see how these objects are behaving with respect to radiation, which will discriminate them. And various spectral analysis have to be done on the satellites, and data has to be collected and sent back in the digital form to the ground. So today we have hyperspectral imaging and all weather imaging. It's not necessary that sun has to be there to put its emission on the earth and then looking it back. Like, can you see in the darkness? You need some special instruments to see in the darkness. That kind of techniques are also built into it. And we have sub-meter resolution, less than 1 meter, you can see from the sky and, understand what is going to what is happening. So India has become a very important player in the international forum too, to give the data to the other countries, share the data with them, and make it useful for the community all around the globe. Next, please. Similarly, the communication side. Communication is one very important aspect in the society. That is what brings the progress in the society, in many direct means. Today, more than 40 satellites are there, and all kinds of activities, whether it is broadcasting or telecom or news gathering and connecting nooks and corners, today we have accomplished with our fleet of satellites. And here too, the communication has gone from the lower bands, from C band, to today we have gone to Ka band, and we have demonstrated VNQ bands and optical bands, and lot of cutting edge technology is being demonstrated in Indian space program today. We have today huge lot of transponders and broadband data connectivity availability through our fleet, and through appropriate policies. When it is falling short, we are even able to take from foreign satellites and give it, so that Indian community will never feel the shortage. Next, please. Go to next slide. Similarly, the navigation, which started previous one. Navigation too, the navigation satellites, we had two branches of it. One was using the GPS, that is GPS aided system, geo-augmented system, for which what we did was certifying the GPS signals, so that we get at any time very reliable GPS signal available for the operations, critical operations like aviation. That was successfully conducted, and not depending on others. Our own navigation system, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, which Honorable Prime Minister named as, NAVIC, navigation using Indian constellation. That self-reliance was brought in. Today, if you see, all the major space players, they have their own navigation system, whether it is Europe, China, Russia, of course, America had already put GPS, whether it is Japan. So, their systems are global navigation systems, or they have at least 22 to 28, 32 satellites. But we had a unique solution over India, just with 7 satellite configuration, which can be extended to 11 satellites. We made a constellation so that India and 1,500 kilometers all around, we have our own indigenous navigation system as good as anybody else. Next, please. The next stream was most important for the meteorology, weather and climate monitoring, and from the sky. And we had 2 streams in that, those which can be looking at India and around consistently, that is in the geosynchronous orbit. You can see on your left-hand side, 36,000 kilometers. If you put a satellite there, it rotates along with the Earth, same longitude it will be seeing. So such satellites were brought in for specific applications. And at the same time, a lot of these meteorological satellites were brought in 600 to 800 kilometers. So which will be going round from pole to pole at a lower orbit and covering the entire globe. So in the process, so you contribute internationally for all the weather and climate data, and a huge repository of the database has also been developed since 1990s in India for all the weather and climate data, which is going on now, just like any other country. Next, please. So these are some of the space resources I told you what India has brought in. So, but how is it going to help the country in development? I want you to understand that. So we'll quickly go through that. Now, we have satellites and for various applications like remote sensing, communication, navigation, and meteorology. And we have rockets to take our own satellites up into the orbits too. So having done that, so what? How did India benefit from that? Let us have a look at it. Next slide, please. So what are the factors for a quality life? So when we say development of a country, which country is set to be developed or is in a good state? When there is food and water security, and the environment is controlled, are monitored, managed, and when there is good health which can go to the citizens, when good education can reach them, and when there is, the country is secure internally and from outside forces, and natural causes, whether we can have alarm systems, warning systems, and predict the calamities and disasters, whether we can do that, and whether we can have good business growth, industrial growth, whether we can have that. And at the same time, there is a good amount of infotainment, information and entertainment, which passes on to the citizens. These are all some of the key factors. Let us see, have we met each of them? Next, please. So if you see the remote sensing satellites, they can today, Indian remote sensing satellites, all the major crops of India can be monitored from the sowing to their ripening state. So whether it is wheat or rice, so many crops, similarly the horticulture crops. So which has come as a great help for the national planning of the food, of the growth of the crops, and then how the estimating what kind of crops will come, and the forecasting along with the other terrestrial data what we have. So all these kind of software development and giving the data from the sky and how to do that, and this kind of analysis, which has helped maximizing the returns per unit area, per unit time. So it has come a great help for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, and it is extensively used. So this helps in the public distribution system of the food and forecasting, and including the insurance. In case there is a crop loss or something, there is a clear evidence from the sky why it has happened. And there are instances where it has been clearly brought out, like wilting of the coconut trees because of certain disease. Then immediately in advance, all the people are informed, all the farmers are horticulture is informed, so that how to isolate that area and how to medicate those areas, which has come very handy. It is a great step towards food security and food distribution in the country. Next, please. Next resource, very important, water, both the surface water and the underground water. There has been an extensive use of the satellites to provide the understanding and monitoring of the water bodies and the underground water. And there has been a huge success in places like the desert kind of areas, where they could dig in the bore wells with huge percentage of success, more than 85% success, so that they could get the water and convert those lands as useful. So this kind of activity for the water resource is so important. It also helps in understanding how the rivers are flowing, how the underground water is changing its movement, and what we have to do about it. These are a wonderful information which goes into the administration of water resources and drinking water and sanitization departments. All these civic bodies, they are getting this information and helping. Not only this, even that seasonal snow melt-offs, how it is happening. So whether the river will be full this time and what is going to be there. And these kind of assessments are again very important for the irrigation potential and aquaculture. Proceeding with those aquaculture, where are the water bodies, whether we can culture the fish there, and these kind of data are also very useful for again food and the water body maintenance. Next, please. Land is another big resource. It's very interesting to note that the huge vast area of India, we have wastelands. And the wasteland is something where you cannot grow anything. Why it has why it has become like that? There are various causes. It could be salinity, or it could be man-made events, various causes. And this wasteland, identifying the nature of the waste that is happening and how we can rejuvenate it, that has come. And since the remote sensing satellites have been working over the last 2-3 decades, we have seen very clearly that the wasteland has considerably reduced in India. So it can be used for making into planning the towns or agriculture, or what best can be done. And you can also detect whether such things are happening even because of the man-made things, whether factory outlets, whether effluence which is creating this kind of problem, immediately the government can take action on these things. Silently, satellites are observing from the top and giving the information to all these departments like rural development and environment, forest, climate change ministries. They are continuously utilizing this data and protecting the resource, very useful resource called land. It cannot go barren and wasted. So in fact, there is a interesting theory that this kind of wastelands will help in the biodiversity. So it is true in very vast lands and something like probably the large Australia kind of land or the American kind of land and all that. But if we see in India, you want to help that biodiversity and utilize with our population and need for resources, these kind of data are absolutely essential. Next, please. And forests are our other resources. Why forests are important? Again, as I was talking, the biomasses, what kind of plants, the animals which are living there. It is an eco-balance, these forests, and forests will bring in rains, and forests will improve the ground or the land where they are growing and these kind of things. And continuous monitoring will help us to see where the forests are getting reduced, thinned out, and how actions have to be taken so that we have to replant the forests and all that. That is one aspect of it. And secondly, if there is any illegal activities going on to reduce the forest, immediately we'll come to know. These departments will be immediately taking the action, and near real time forest fire information goes so that we can control the forest fires immediately and stop the degradation. These are the wonderful examples of what satellites can do for the resources. Next, please. And of course, oceans, they hold the key to the Earth's climate. Every life, it got formed, and there is a huge complex equation that goes on between the oceans and seas and the other bio masses on this earth, that we all know that oceans hold the key to that. And it's very important, apart from finding the fishery and finding the potential fishing zones, which is successfully carried out by monitoring certain type of algae which grows there, which will give an indication that there is a concentration of fish. Apart from that, we also have to look at the environment which oceans and seas give us. The storm surge forecasts are coming from there, when the storm is going to hit, and the temperature of the ocean. These are all and what we call as thermocline depth. That is the way the temperature is varying in the depths of the ocean, which are all very important signatures, like why the coral reef goes off and these kind of things, and mangrove forests in India, they have a huge impact from the oceans, and the pollution monitoring so that these things can be preserved. These are important aspects of ocean monitoring, especially in weather and climate forecasts too, and disaster monitoring. For these things, ocean monitoring is a must, and these are very effectively going on with Indian satellites, not only for us, and we are also sharing the data with other countries. Next, please. And we have geology and geomorphology and finding the minerals. There are many cases where the minerals have been, there will be some kind of, disruptions in the formations. And immediately you know that from the signature of the spectrum, whether it is an ore which is present or the gas which is there, natural gases, and these have helped a lot to improve the wealth of the country, and easily and trying to, do at the right places than blindly going and trying to do this one. And we have also found some diamond mines, and these kind of things have helped a lot. And there is also something called geomorphology, and it requires a huge time data collection of the earth, very slow movements and slow variations in the morphology of the earth will be happening. And these measurements and understanding is a very useful tool in the long run to understand what's going to happen, the future. Next, please. And as I already told, weather and climate, and we have huge number of satellites, both in low Earth and the geostationary orbit. And we have more than 1,000 automatic weather stations all around the country. And these data will be picked up by the satellite. And these are together collected and given to the meteorological departments. And it also is very essential that it is not just the temperature or the humidity, even the wind speeds, the aerosol monitoring, the ion distributions, and these kind of data are very important for the predictions over small areas and large areas. And these data have been, every 15 minutes data is being fed to the meteorological department, and who are doing wonderful job. Next, please. And the other aspect, other than the resources, as I told, all these were the resources, what we were looking, and the environment. And the other thing is the human beings, the common man who is there, whether we can provide good health to the people. We all know India is made up of remote villages and remote areas, and our land is so, the terrains are so difficult to reach. And how do we ensure that there is good health service to them? The telemedicine program, which was brought in by ISRO using the communication satellites, was a great success, and many are still using, especially the northeastern region, where the hilly regions, where a lot of our defense people are there, the army people are there, high up, and they had to be brought down to the camp even for smallest problems. Today, through the satellite link, they can consult and find out, and quick remedies can be given to them, and their movement may not be necessary unless it is a grave problem. They can stay there and recoup and work there. And these things are done a wonder to the nooks and corners of the country. And ISRO took it as a very important project, and demonstrated connecting many super specialty hospitals, etc. A semi qualified person is sufficient in a place like a Gram Panchayat area or somewhere. He can sit with the instruments, who can, the little bit of understanding how to use the instruments. He can uplink and video call with a specialist elsewhere, and the patients get the treatment without having to move from their villages with great difficulty to the cities, and immediate health can be provided. And in fact, there was next one is tele-education. In fact, we were thinking, with all these terrestrial links today, with all the 5G and these things, do we really, everybody has on the phone links and all that, do we really need to continue with the telemedicine and the tele-education, whether we can use the resource for something else? So even when I was in the place there at ISRO headquarters, we called all the secretaries of the states, and we got the information from them. Their representatives came in and told, please don't stop. They are extensively using it, especially the tele-education. Next slide, please. So I was telling you about the tele-education too. Tele-education is not necessarily for the students, and of course, which definitely is useful, and for the rural areas, etc. And in fact, there are the difficult terrains where the landlines cannot reach at all. So like optical fiber cables or something, it's, putting them is very difficult, and maintaining them through forestry or, possible natural disasters is extremely difficult. Whereas such areas, the satellites have provided the online classes to them, not because of COVID, even from a long time it has been happening. And it is not only for those students in the remote area, even technical students today, they have in Bangalore there are several colleges, they call it a satellite class. So in those classes, in the engineering or medical classes, they're getting the professors from abroad and having the specialized lectures. And there are many organizations which are using these links to train their employees, and also for timely upgradation of the skills, etc., has to be done. These things have to be these things are being extensively used, especially for primary schools, etc. India has a unique thing that they have so many languages, and the syllabus keeps changing. Teachers are not trained enough. For them, this tele-education is a boon, and it is going on very well. And we had two types, which was receive-only terminals were also there, and there was also interactive. Both types were established, and it was a huge success, and it is going on in many areas, even today in many states. Next, please. And of course, today, without communication, whether you're on a ship or a plane or on the road or rail, anywhere, we cannot live without communicating with people. And satellites are, of course, are doing this job wonderfully. And, when you're going by train everywhere, you don't have your mobile links, whereas the satellite links will be working. Same with the aircrafts. So the satellites are doing that role of connecting, and world is at your fingertips all the time, right? Next, please. And it never ends that the data connection. We were talking about the broadband data, like the internet connections, etc. Why is it required for nooks and corners? And are they using it? Yes, it is very important for even for the e-governance. Establishing such broadband things and disseminating the information to them, and using a lot of, I will come to that, using a lot of collected data at those, information kiosk kind of things in the remote places, whether it is a lot of this information flow is happening. And today people are connected, whether you are in islands of India or northeast corner, anywhere. And India has taken up, government has taken up Digital India program, that every nook and corner should get the access to the data and information. And in this, I'm very proud that Indian high throughput satellites are also playing a big role hand in hand with the terrestrial links, so that, terrestrial links cannot reach everywhere again and again. I'm repeating it. So the remote connectivities are very successfully carried out. Not only that, these satellites also give a backhaul from various areas for the cellular data, etc. They have to connect it back. They give a thick beam of connectivity, so that quickly the information will pass on. So next, please. So how does it help having the connectivity everywhere? So the business and commerce, how business and commerce is blooming. Sitting anywhere, you can buy anything. And, the stock exchanges are working remotely, and people are monitoring continuously. And they're all equipped, whether you are in Timbuktu or anywhere, you can draw your money from an ATM there in that country, from your bank in India, wherever you are. Why any other country? Even any corner of India, if you go, you can draw your money from the ATM. If you have seen on the ATMs, on the top of it, you will see a small antenna connecting to the satellite, connecting to your links. And a lot of business today is happening. Our colleagues will be sitting in some other countries, and a seamless operation of business is happening day and night. And corporates are extensively utilizing these links. And that is a huge growth for the nation in terms of economy, business, and industry. Next, please. And there is no shortage of entertainment along with the information, what we call as infotainment. And whether it is through TVs or the satellite radios, or even your multiplexes, the Dolby, where you get your movies in the multiplexes. Today, they are all the satellite links, in fact. And not like the earlier days, they have the recorded tapes and they do it. It is directly beamed from the satellite. It is timed and it is beamed out. And these kind of operations are which are continuously going on. And India especially, nothing is enough. We have more than 800, 900 vernacular channels. And, it's very essential. You can't have one channel in one language and beam it everywhere. So every region has to have its own flavor, its own language, in this regard, the broadcast, and it has come into a great deal of help. And of course, digital news gathering too. Wherever the games are going on, there will be a, outbound vans will be there, and they collect the information. They have the cameras and their mics, and the data will go to the ground stations, and it will be beamed back. Whether it is a cricket or football or election or any important activity going on in the country, these kind of mobile vans will go and then collect the data and beam it through the satellite. So instantaneously, the news is spreading everywhere. And of course, entertainment is never ending. Next, please. And it's a big industry too. And navigation applications, I can never complete in 1 hour or 2 hours at all. I just give a glimpse of it. Whether it is fleet management, navigation is required for movement, right? Whether it is on the land or in the sky or ocean, the fleet management and monitoring where they are is essential. And navigation satellites not only give the location, they also give you a precise timing. So a lot of applications where precise timing is required, because they utilize atomic clocks on board, they use this precise timing, which comes in a very handy, especially for power grid synchronizations, etc. It is extensively used. And mapping. So through remote sensing, you can be getting the data and then converting it through the navigation data to precisely tell the boundaries. And geofencing applications. So geofencing is where you can localize the areas and use it as a geoinformation system, putting many layers of it, and gives an integrated application. So in all this, even whether it is for hiking, people are going, some people are lost, they have these navigation tools, which are extremely useful. And we are proud that India has got its own navigation tool today. Next, please. And as I told, these applications have not remained as, tight compartments like remote sensing application, communication, navigation, and weather. No. So there are hundreds of thousands of applications which have come on the ground, integrating the outputs from all these applications, from these satellites. For example, defense is one area where all these are required. Imageries and communication, navigation, meteorological data, and the 8 important components, that is control of the defense, communication, computations, surveillance, reconnaissance, intelligence, and commands. All these are extensively using the satellite data, because satellites cannot be destroyed easily. I mean, of course, today the technology is there to destroy satellites too, but it's not so easy, not by everybody. Everybody cannot do it. So satellite is a safe way of communicating. And today we have a great support given to our 4th frontier, that is the defense. National 4th frontier is the space, along with our military and Air Force and Navy. Today, Space Force also has become one frontier. Next, please. And disaster management. India is no stranger to having the disasters, whether it is landslides or the hurricanes or, these kind of floods which come up, all kind of things. Today, if you remember, I don't know, you're all very young, long back, we used to have thousands of lives being lost. Today, there are early warnings and also, a quick action, rapid action, because of this early information by the government agencies to evacuate people and make sure that there are no loss of lives. Today, you don't see such huge loss of lives at all. So this is again another important thing, because when disasters happen, anything terrestrial links can get totally wiped out. And whereas satellites are working there, and with some handheld devices or small devices elsewhere, you can keep communicating and do. And that is one aspect of it. And secondly, when disasters do happen, you have to send aids at the right positions, at the right places, and it should not get wasted. So in that, again, utilizing all these applications, the communication, remote sensing, where exactly it has happened, and with the navigation help. And already we have the early warnings with the weather satellites, and all these things, they are wonderfully working, and it is one of the most efficient systems that is going on and helping the nation to reduce the losses. So when these things happen, it is a feedback loop. You keep on doing these things, collecting the data, and it improves your system further. Better and better services keep going. Next, please. There is also international operations called search and rescue for those who are lost in the ocean, and very standard protocols are there. And India is a proud partner. It is called SARSAR, Satellite Aided Search and Rescue Operations. In this, India is a great partner, and we have been responsible for protecting or saving many lives who are lost on the ocean. So here a particular frequency is used, and very standard devices are put on those systems like small boats and international ships and all that. And when they are there, or aircrafts, and if they just press one button, their location data reaches the satellite, and the distress call goes to the satellite, and satellite will immediately be made to the ground stations, and ground stations at the speed of light, it will reach the rescue centers with the coordinate data, and rescue will go immediately to those places. This is an international effort, and India is also a partner in that. Notwithstanding that, India has brought its own system for our own fishermen, so that which is cost effective, and it is not only a distress message, and we also give them back the message, so that it's a kind of two-way, that people who are lost can even have a feeling that they're in touch, and they get the alarms and information easily. I'll tell you in the next coming slide. Next, please. So as I was telling, our small boatmen, fishermen who are economically not so well off, today, of course, first of all, they're getting the potential fishing zones, which has drastically improved their lifestyles compared to what it used to be. So they exactly know where they have to go to catch the fish and what kind of fish they're going to get. And that is one that is helping them to not waste their time, and also get more earning because of that. It is improved their standard of living. Apart from that, they are also provided by our own indigenous instruments in their small boats. Many governments have now made it mandatory that they have to have. We have a long coastline, and there are nearly, I think, tens of thousands of fishermen are there. And in their boats, these devices have to be installed for their safety. So what does it do? For example, that instrument, first of all, it will give a weather warning. The kiosks there in the coast will give a weather warning whether they should venture out or not. So having gone inside, then what happens? Many times these people are crossing the line of control, because on the ocean, on the water, you can't see, and they get captured by the other countries and unnecessary problems. They get, because of the coordinates which are being continuously provided to them, they know where the line of control is there. They cannot read coordinates and all. So they know that an alarm beep is coming. They know I should not go further. Okay, that kind of line of control alert will be there. Weather warnings will be there for them to immediately return, or not even to venture out into the oceans. And in case they get into any problem, one simple button for them to press. And then, as I told, it is a similar scheme like that search and rescue team, but it is our own frequencies we are given to our fishermen, so that by mistake they do, the international forum also will not get disturbed along with other ships and all that. At the same time, we respond to them immediately, and quick rescue operations happen. As I told, there is a messaging. Once this happens, we know their coordinates, and this data will go to our other communication satellite, and which will send messages to these fishermen that help is on the way and these kind of things will be there. So in very simple manner that they can understand, not making it very complex for them. It is a very ingenious method of helping our fishermen. Next, please. As I was telling, all these whatever applications I told, and they cannot be in their own corners. They have to be integrated, whether it is telemedicine, tele-education, or weather information, or health information which is being disseminated, vaccine information, whatever government wants to pass, or even the e-governance for all these gram panchayats. For everything, you can't have one setup. So ISRO brought out a very unique scheme called Village Resource Centers. So all the resources were pooled in resource centers. It could be a school in that area, or a Gram Panchayat building or something, wherein very simple instruments with one antenna system would be put, and then they get all the information through semi-literate people who can do that, whether it is broadcasting or any information to be passed on to the government quickly. These kind of things have helped a lot, including their gram panchayats, locating those boundaries of the gram panchayats and even the fields to the property marking. All these have come very handy, and today everything is digitizable, and which is happening everywhere because of these kind of facilities which are made available. Next, please. So, I mean, these are all various hazards. There are many, many more because of constraint of time. I had told you the important things, as I told, health and water and food, protection and communication, business, all these things are how they are thriving. So apart from that, there is also a responsibility on us that a scientific thrust is put in the society amongst the students, youngsters. In that aspect, a lot of activities also have gone on. And we also have to move forward to understand that is also one important window, as I told, for the space, that we had the missions like Chandrayaan-1 and the Mars mission, which was first time successful. And Chandrayaan-1 showed for the first time in the world that, there is water traces on moon, water not like the flowing water on Earth, traces of water. And international cooperation was brought in. Look at the confidence now the advanced countries have in us. They're putting instruments in us where we can take the satellites to the moon and Mars, because it is not easy in their own governments to get easy, trying to get grants for putting satellites for as quickly as they want to do it. And we also had Chandrayaan-2 mission where we could not land, but of course, it is going to be repeated very soon. And we have a beautiful observatory in the sky. I don't know how many of you students know. It is called AstroSat, which found more than 9 billion light years away, a galaxy formation very clearly, which was of great interest to the scientific community all over the world. And this satellite amazingly is giving huge amounts of scientific data, which is being disseminated all around the world for the physicists, astrophysicists who are studying these kind of data to understand the universe. It has a whole gamut of X-ray payloads in one small satellite, and it has taken that. And very soon we are coming up with sun observation called Aditya mission. So we put it in a place called Lagrange point in space. That is a place that Lagrange was a French scientist who found that whenever there are two huge bodies, there are points where the push and pull will be equalized, and the body need not have to get attracted to either of them. Though it won't be a single point, it will be an area where you have to control your satellite. And we are putting our satellite. Satellite is almost ready. It will be going probably this year. It should have gone. Due to pandemic, many things have got delayed too. Okay, next please. And of course, we are all eagerly waiting for our human space program, Gaganyaan. We call it Gaganyaan. And it did not happen overnight. And a lot of experiments were going on. We did that space capsule recovery experiment, if you remember, in 2007, where that module re-entered, and it was a great experiment, successful experiment, which gave us a lot of hands-on experience on how to re-enter into the atmosphere. And we had many other tests, like we were working on, astronaut suits from some time as research and development, and putting the environment to human compatible environment. And we had pad abort tests in case there's a problem, how they can eject out. And we also had that crew module re-entry in 2018. Atmospheric re-entry was there, which was very successful. All these are step by step we have been doing. And as you might have already seen in news, etc., we have a humanoid made, we call it as Vyoma Mitra, because first 2 missions will be without humans, but it will simulate a humanoid, will simulate a human being there and does all the monitoring. It's an instrument basically, and it will measure everything and give a lot of useful data for the human beings. All these are going on in a wonderful manner. Next, please. So it has been, development of the nation, and it has become so ubiquitous. Space has become every department, and even Honorable Prime Minister called every department, and he gave much more impetus a few years back, and further it has enhanced the usage of space. There's no department which doesn't use the satellite data, as you saw. For everything you need this kind of continuous monitoring, and which you can do in a very cost-effective manner, because once a satellite is put, it is there, and it can keep on operating without any intervention. So that is a great thing. Along with those development, there has been an inclusive growth. A lot of industries have grown. Today, nearly 70% of the rocket is made by the private industries, and many parts of the satellite are made by the industry, and industry is growing, and international cooperation is wonderfully increasing. Recently we dedicated one satellite, Prime Minister dedicated our GSAT-9 as SARCSAT. He gave transponders to the neighboring countries as a goodwill, so that many countries took it forward, and especially Bhutan and Maldives, they are using it extensively, and their own communication things have improved a lot. It has also brought in goodwill, and international cooperation in terms of many advanced countries putting their payloads on our satellites. And we built 2 huge satellites for foreign countries. 2 satellites in the late 2000. We did W2M and HILAS, and we have launches, interchangeability. These kind of things are happening. A lot of research centers have come in, and a lot of private industry today, they are ready to do end-to-end their own space programs. They are coming. Academia is part of it. Many advanced institutions are part of us, and public sectors are playing a big role. They are making production of space systems, because space is something where high reliability is required and it needs special training. So these have been imparted to all sectors, and government bodies are extensively using. So ISRO has etched its mark everywhere. And today, I think overall growth of the country was all because of that visionary who thought that we can bring those advanced technologies to common man. And in that process, we will develop our technologies to go further into space. Both are happening and dreams are being met. Next, please. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are so grateful that we could be a part of such an engaging and impactful session. This is definitely a motivation for everyone who aspires to reach such pinnacles of success. Ma'am, I would like to ask you that what is your advice, your piece of advice for the students who aspire to have a career in space sciences?
First of all, if you have a passion for that, you should continue. Do whatever is your passion. If you want to continue in space, this is the right time, because today it is opened up even for the private sectors. It's not necessarily one organization, ISRO, where you have to work if you want to do work on space. lot of young companies have come up, and I would say some are independent companies, or some are they are making a joint venture with the 4-5 of them with their strength. And this is a time they also need youngsters, and I'm sure whoever is interested can look out for that, and you will have plenty of opportunities to work on that. And space is a thing where it's the pinnacle of technology, because of the complexities involved and the high reliability required, and it always keeps on posing challenges and keeps improving our own abilities. So it is wonderful. I would say that you will not regret if you go to the space field. And space field is not only making satellites and rockets and applications, plenty of ground applications, developing the ground softwares and ground equipments to utilize this satellite data is a huge industry today. One can enter into those industries too. And also on the purely on the scientific, like astrophysics and understanding the space, and in those lines also you can venture into those things. All are possible. There is a wide variety of menu for you if you want to touch space.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for spending and
your voice is breaking, ma.
My voice is breaking. I'm so sorry. There must be some network issue.
Okay, please tell me. You were telling something. I didn't catch.
Yeah, I was saying that we come to an end of the session. I would thank you for sparing your precious time. And I would also like to thank our wonderful audience who are watching this live on YouTube. So yeah, thank you. Hopefully you all enjoyed the session. Until next time, this is Technovensa VJTI. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.